What's going on YouTube? I'm gonna drop a brand new video on you guys today, talking a little bit about finding structure offshore. That's a lot of fun. A lot of the videos that you see me fishing when I'm fishing offshore, I spend hours upon hours upon hours just idling and using my Lowrance electronics to find offshore structure so I can have something to fish when the fish are not on the bank. So we're heading into the summer period times of the year. Fish are getting off the bank. They're starting to go deeper. We can start to use our electronics a little bit more. And on this video, I'm going to show you exactly how I find a lot of my summer hotspots using my Lowrance HDS 12 carbons. Make sure you comment, like, share, subscribe, talk about, yell at this video. Hope you like it. There's a road bed. I'll zoom in here. This little blue line. I actually don't have my chip in here. This is my home lake, so I really don't have to run a chip to know where things are. I actually just came back from an event, so my chip's downloaded with the mapping from the lake that we just fished. But you don't need it. You can see there's a road bed that runs right across here, and I'm going to show you guys what that looks like on structure scan. We'll go to my pages, go to my structure scan. Let's clear out that cursor, and you can see my mapping. I need to go a little bit to the left, so I'll just steer the boat to the left a little bit. And that road bed runs up on a little bit of a high spot, which, you know, that's always a high percentage spot. A lot of times all I'm looking for is a high spot that's adjacent to any kind of structure, whether that be timber, brush piles, road bed, or anything like that. Now you can see it really good here on the structure scan, on the side scan. That little depression, we'll scroll back up here. That little depression right there, there's your road bed. You can see how it runs across there. You can see how it runs across here on the left right here. All that's the road bed. And there's it's like an intersection where that road bed went two different ways. I'll go back across it so you guys can see it again. And the depression, you see it starting to come into the screen right there. That's the road bed. I'm gonna run across it. It's on my right side here. Try to get on it right so you can see it really good. One thing that's important to remember when you're trying to graph and when you're trying to find fish is, number one, you got to be patient. It took me a while to get used to just sitting behind the console, putting the rods up for a little while and idling and just looking for stuff. The more you idle, the more time you spend behind the wheel, the less questions you'll have. The more you'll learn about your units, you'll be able to interpret what you're looking at a little bit better. So it's really a lot of seat time. You can look at these videos, you can look at YouTube, you can ask friends. Of course, comment in this video if you got any questions. And this video is skimming the surface of this whole subject of reading your graphs. But you have to spend time with it to really be able to interpret what you're looking at. There it is. Now you can see it on the down scan. That's a really good picture there. You can see there's the road bed setting down in a little depression there. You can also see it right here on the down scan. I'll zoom in on that a little bit. You can see that's the lip of the road bed right there. And you also can see where it crosses from left to right there. Good high percentage place, but you can see how detailed that is. These graphs are really good right now. It's really easy to interpret structure as opposed to fish. As back in the day, it was really tough. You could go over a timber line and you'd have to guess if you were looking at fish. It's really almost impossible to mark fish as you were moving in timber unless you were sitting there watching them on the graph. But with the 3D structure scan, that's all I use when I'm idling now. I never use 2D when I'm behind the wheel anymore. I do use 2D when I'm up on the bow of the boat. But you'll see exactly how detailed this is. We're going to look at some road beds. We're going to look at some brush piles. You're actually even going to see some fish in this video. There's a couple fish right there. And I'll zoom in. I'll see if I can change the palette without you see there's a little bit of brush right there. And I'll change the palette so you can tell how different, you know, those fish just show up a little bit brighter. If you look at that right there, those fish show up a little bit brighter to me on palette 8 than they do like on palette 5. And you see on 5 it just kind of blends in with everything. But when I come down here to palette 8, those fish kind of really pop, and you can tell. We'll zoom in and look at them. You can see they were laying down there about 20 foot
And you can just tell what you're looking at a little bit better on that pallet than you can. Let's look at 6. Yeah, it doesn't really pop that well. Number 5, it really dulls it down. Yeah, number 4 is not so bad, but number 8 is my favorite one. Now I can really tell what I'm looking at really good with that particular palette. So you know, you can adjust your contrast. I don't really like to go with the auto contrast on here. I'll usually bump it up to about 70, anywhere between 70 and 78% seems to be the sweet spot for me, because once again that just makes the fish pop. You can see how when I turned that, I was on 72, probably because I was graphing a little shallower earlier, but when I bumped it up to 80, you can see how much brighter those fish became when I idled over them.
When you're trying to find fish offshore, of course, obviously you're going to need graphs. I'm running Lowrance HDS 12 carbon units. Do you have to have 12-inch carbon units? No. Can you do it with 2D sonar? Absolutely. I did it for years. Only thing about 2D sonar, you can't cover quite as much ground as you used to, and there's always subject to interpretation. It's not always easy to tell what brush looks like, what fish looks like on 2D sonar as well as you can with the new 3D structure scan that we have with all their new Lowrance products. So yes, you can do it with whatever graph you have. I promise you can do it. I'd love for everybody out there to have the latest Lowrance HDS 12 carbon if you have it. It makes it a lot easy. I'm really efficient. I can tell exactly what I'm looking at. I never have to guess what I'm looking at.
There's some fish right there. Look at that, buddy. Okay, 22 foot about. There's some fish. You can see a few right there. There's some more fish. We'll zoom in on that so you guys can get a good let's zoom in on that right there. That way you can get a good idea what those fish look like. There's a waypoint here. Looks pretty good. There's a couple. There's 1, 2, 3. That's brush, and that's a little bit of brush they're setting over. There's 3 fish there. There is 1, 2, 3. I think that's one there. That may be a little bit of brush. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There's 5 fish right there. That's a pretty good group of fish right there. So we looked at a little bit about. We looked at a road bed. You guys got to see what the fish actually look like on the graph. Let's go and look at a brush pile. Brush piles kind of look unique, so that way you know what to look for on the graph as well. Well, that doesn't look good. Now let's look at these fish, and I'm going to zoom out on here to 80 feet. That seems to be about the best for me when you're 60 to 80 foot, you know, just whatever works for you. But for me, I think 60 to 80 foot gives me good definition. And you'll be able to see what a brush pile looks like here. You're always seeing some fish. There's a couple more fish laying down there. Big old spotted bass from Lake Hartwell. There's a little bit of brush right there, and about 22 foot. You can see that little hump there. That's a little bit of brush. That right there is a little brush. I can also look off to the side and see brush too. You can see it there and there. Becomes a really good picture of it on down scan. I'll try to get beside it so you guys can see it on structure as well. You see that's probably like a cedar tree, and it looks exactly like. I'll zoom in on that. You see that piece of brush right there looks exactly like it, and there's 1 or 2 fish right behind it. There's some more brush there. There's some more brush right there. You can even see it up here on structure scan looking out to the side. You can see that's brush. All of that right there is nothing but brush. Nothing but brush. A few fish out to the side, and there's one suspended over the top of it there. What you want to do, you see that, you can move the cursor, just hit waypoint, and that's going to save it there. And you know, you can change your waypoints. All you got to do is when you hit the waypoint here, all you got to do is hit that icon and change it to whatever you want to. Blue dots, you can change it to there's all kind of stuff you can change it to. I always like the stop sign because it's easier to find once I start fishing. You notice I don't really run the depths on my structure scan. To me, it just clouds up my screen and I can't really read what's going on. But you may want to add the depth, you may want to add the water temperature and so forth. What you want to do is come overlay. So we're going to hit edit overlay, power edit overlay, and we're going to go to add. And you can come over here and just add whatever you want. So if you want to go to sonar, you might want to add water temperature, you know, structure depth, whatever you want to add. You just go through this panel and add whatever you want. You might want to add the time. That's always a good deal to add, especially for your tournament fishing. You tap that and you'll X out of it, hit save, and then all your data is over here. Now you may want to move that around, make it bigger or so forth, so you'll just tap, you'll go back to power again, just hit your power button, and then this time you're actually going to edit overlay, and then you're going to configure. And so whatever, you see the box is populated around that temperature, you may want that big or small or whatever, and you can change it, make it large, you can make it small, you can make it extra large, whatever, and drag it to wherever you want it to be. That's how you do that. And you do that for everything that you add on there. If you want to make your time, your temperature, do the same exact thing, just populate it, go to configure, and change it to whatever size you want it to be. It looks like it's raining. So that's going to be the end of the graph seminar for today. That's for sure rain, folks, for sure. So
really, a lot of these places that I'm going to be finding here, I can catch fish on them almost year round, with the exception of the spawn. During the spawn, pretty much everything goes to the bank. But wintertime, summertime, fall time, especially considering the species that you may have on your lake, we've got spotted bass. They stay deep almost all year long. So if you've got spotted bass, if you got smallmouth, and you find any type of offshore structure, I can almost guarantee you there's going to be fish there. So that's a little bit. I hope that helps you find fish offshore on your home pond. I promise you, if you put a little time behind it, spend some time with your graphs, learn your units, learn to interpret what's structure, what's fish. It's a lot of fun. It's one of the most interesting ways to fish. So I got some new hot spots that I found today. Hopefully in the next couple of weeks we'll drop some videos dropping some bombs on them and catching some awesome spotted bass out here on Lake Hartwell. Peace.